I'm Luke Summerhays.
I'm James J. Miles.
I'm James the Jaster Stewart.
And you're listening to Monster Mash.
And on this week's episode, we are hunting Amatsu.
Ooh.
Whoosh.
Party had just begun. The guests included Wolfman, Dracula, and his son.
Played the mash,
They played the Monster Mash.
the monster mash.
It was a
Jericho coming down. Now you know. Break the wall down.
Amatsu, elder dragons that can manipulate the weather and are able to conjure up unrelenting gales. Amatsu glide through the air on currents they create using their wing membrane, making it look as if they are dancing in the sky. The storms they summon are extremely destructive and can lay entire cities to waste, thus they are known as the looming calamity. When enraged, their storms become even more violent, enveloping the area with unrelenting lightning strikes.
Ominous clouds, torn apart, unleashing a torrent of rain. Then, an unrelenting typhoon, connecting the heavens once again. It shows its form, a hurricane made of flesh, bringing death through gale and storm. A dragon god ready to thresh.
So this time, unlike all the other times I've said this, we're actually done with Rise and Sunbreak. I actually think that considering this is like a returning monster that's been brought back as like a little fan service hit, it's actually done pretty well.
Yeah.
Because Amatsu fits in really nicely to Nara and Ibushi. And then they've tied it into the story of like a couple of the characters in the village and
Well,
stuff.
I think that's what like everybody
So
was kind of.
it doesn't feel tacked on.
Like some fans like had theories like in the base game like of Rise, like when obviously because like the story was so segmented with like updates because of COVID and stuff like that. When you got like the final story piece and before we knew about like Narwa Allmother, like people assumed what if Amatsu is like what Ibushi and Narwa give birth to.
Okay. That kind of makes sense because it does feel like this is the monster that combines the thunder and lightning like Nara and Ibushi.
Well, it does now,
quite
yeah.
good.
Like in the third gen, Amatsu only done like wind.
It was just wind, right?
Yeah, it was just wind.
Yeah.
Yeah, it never done lightning's like a new thing. Obviously, it makes
I
sense.
think wind and lightning is what I meant to say. Thunder
Like
and
you were
lightning.
saying, it makes sense. It makes like sense for the game.
Yeah.
The themes that they're going for.
And yeah, between like Nawa and Ibushi and Geismagorn, like they all seem like kind of a piece. Right. Like this is the game for that model of dragon. Whereas maybe you could say World was more a game for like the traditional Western dragon with Nurg and Xenojiva and Safajiva, and then
Velcana.
the ice one, Volcana, and then they were brought back Fatalis and Alatrion at the end. So they were really doubling down on like that kind of a dragon. Whereas this game, it's like, no, it's all about these weird floaty Asian dragons.
And then the bloody dirt one was with the laser beam. What was he called? In Iceborne?
Oh, I know him. I remember his name. It has a really weird name, so I don't feel guilty for not remembering it.
The poop dragon, as I called it.
Dragon.
It looks like a Voltron, and then you smash its shell off, and it's like
I completely forgot
weird...
the name as well. That's
Yeah,
what I
flesh
called it.
thing.
Like, because like when you like it soaks all the water up, and like and you knock all the colour out of it, it just looks like a dragon made of poop. Poop man from Burgundy.
But yeah, I think obviously Rise in a lot of ways.
Shara Ishvalda, Jay.
That's the one. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
not the one I was thinking
Um,
of.
oh,
Sherry's wrote it as the end game, but there was the other Elder Dragon,
yeah.
like the big colourful one in the
Namiel?
Faroe Islands. Namiel, that's it, yeah. That's the big
Namiel
dragon.
was the one that me and Andy did a podcast, just the two of us. So I
Namiel
always
is the
remember it as us just being a bit weird.
Namiel is the poop dragon.
But in a lot of ways, Rise has been a love letter to the third gen games, right? And
Yeah.
Absolutely.
you know, especially like Portable Thirds, a lot of like Yukumo and Kamura share a lot of design and DNA just by being so, you know, Japanese influence in the architecture, Asian influenced in the architecture in general. So having Namatsu as the finale, um, you know, like you were saying earlier on, this was us properly done with Rise and Sunbreaker. We are now with Amatsu, and it feels very fitting.
It was like a fantastic hunt as well, like to finish off on. Like it's just like such a
But
spectacle.
they've
and all the little
really
touches they have.
integrated the mechanics as well. Like the wire bug is a big factor in it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. It's very much not just the old hunt copied and pasted. It's a completely new hunt, really.
Yeah.
I mean, before, like Jas was saying, the Amatsu, all I remember from the fight I did of it, which was in Generations, was the big wind cyclone move that it did, where you had to sprint and run away from it. And obviously, it still does that, but there's so much more to the fight now, and the fact that it's a storm dragon, it's got lightning attacks, the wind effects are just turned up to 11. You've got that big cinematic moment where you've got to dodge the one hit kill move by using the Great Wire Bug. This ain't your daddy's Amatsu.
And I feel like the vibe is very different. I remember Amatsu in the old games. It felt like it was like this ethereal thing that just sort of vibed, and it wasn't really
a threat.
Yeah, it wasn't. It didn't feel like it was aggressive. It felt like it was, because of its immense power, it had to be put down because it was dangerous. But it never
the
felt
one thing like from Portable Third,
like we were meant to like hate
like,
it or whatever.
We didn't know if it would be last card of Amatsu, like, because obviously none of us have played like Portable Third, but I know it now that Amatsu, like the whole Yukumo thing, Amatsu was driving out like monsters from its habitats.
I think we talked about that, but we just read it off the wiki.
Yeah, it was specifically the Zenogre, like basically the Amatsu kind of moved into Zenogre's territory and kind of displaced them, which was just causing chaos. Hence it being called the Looming Calamity.
And then that obviously then explains why they chose Zenogre as, or Apex Zenogre rather, as the big cinematic. Here's another monster to go and beat up the big bad boss, like they did with Narwa and why am I forgetting names?
Ibushi?
Oh my god!
Like
No, the monster.
Magnum Mallow?
Magnum Mallow, yes, with Magnum Mallow in the base game.
Yeah.
So yeah, very much that explains, because I
Obviously,
did think
the whole part
Zenogre.
as well, it ties into the whole kind of theme. They've clearly got like we were saying, like the third generation like theme and callbacks from the base game of Rise had that, and then it just kind of caps it off where they ended with the Matsu, like, and of course you bring Zenogre in because that was the whole thing in Portable Third, like we just said.
Zenogre gets his revenge.
Yeah. It's got. I love the little touches as well, like of the audio, like just some of the music and like the little item pickup, like sounds like from third gen.
Yeah, I couldn't hear it. You pointed it out to me.
No,
but that's. I mean, I couldn't pick it up, but that sounds cool.
Yeah, it's such a nice touch. Especially for people who've been playing like from the third gen, like onward.
Yeah, they've really, I feel, with Rise and Sunbreak, nailed the kind of final boss monsters. Um, Guys McGorm and base Sunbreak, if you want to call it that, and then obviously your Amatsu in the post launch content, and then
I guess, but then if you go back to base Rise, I guess All Mother Nawa is I would call her the base Rise boss, even though technically she's not. She was like first DLC.
yeah,
And then after that, the final boss was the Valstrax, right?
correct.
And that's very cool, but that didn't feel quite as thematically relevant.
Yeah, I guess maybe omitting Valstrax, but if you count Guys McGorm, Matsu, and All Mother Narwa, all three were big spectacle battles.
And but all three were. It's more like Valstrax was a cool spectacle battle, and the way it zipped around the map was cool. But these three, like they thematically feel of a piece, and they all like wrap up the story and stuff.
Valstrax, I wouldn't, maybe not in the same sense of spectacle. The way
It's a different
I'm using
spectacle,
it,
but it had a big explosion.
it's more so.
Valstrax was more like he's more like in the Devil Joe / Rajang /
invasion like monster.
I guess,
like the new invasion-y.
I guess what I'm getting at is
kinda.
like those three that I mentioned all have these actual scripted spectacle moments. Like you've got the
with the
turret
human
section.
characters having a moment and stuff like
That's
that.
it. Yeah. So they're more story monsters in that sense, which I was going to ask your thoughts on that because we got we spoke about it on the in the hunt, which you can go check out on YouTube. It'll be up when this goes up, I assume.
Be the week after usually.
Well, yep, you can go check it out then. But what did you guys think about them having probably one of the more lengthy story moments before a hunt that I could recall? Because usually we like in the game so far we've had maybe a smaller cutscene, but nothing that was so
Or just
story driven.
A character like talking like in a text box and
Yeah.
and you're just clicking A. Like I enjoyed it. Like it fits. Like
I wouldn't
fitting.
like it if that was constant. But at this scale, I liked it.
Yeah, I'm just going to say I really like it because like it's basically it's the final monster of the game. It's nice to kind of
exactly
cap it off with a good like really like fun story moment.
But then what I said in the hunt was that we've always had, when you take a hunt, you get the little text box that tells you why you're doing the hunt, right?
Mm.
And I would kind of like to see a Monster Hunter game where for every monster, I mean, as long as it's optional and you can skip it, there is like a little sub-story cutscene to set it up for you. That maybe we would give it a different... people always complain that it's like, oh, you're just killing these monsters for fun. And it's like, well, there is little stories, just no one reads them. Mm-hmm. If they were all like these sad little Witcher-esque, Yakuza-esque,
I don't know why I thought of this when you were talking about like these little sad stories before each hunt, but do you have any knowledge about Balan Wonderworld at all?
Not that I know what you're getting at. No.
Like each level is prefaced by like a little sad story about the character you're trying to rescue in the level. Like, and I don't know why. That's just what I thought of when you mentioned that. Like one of them, like they're really really stupid. Like one of them is scared of the water because she got attacked by a dolphin. Like jumps in the water and stuff like that.
Dolphin attacks are no laughing matter, Jay.
Yeah, well, tell it to you.
Dolphins are like one of the only animals that is just like deliberately a dick to humans because it thinks it's funny.
I guess Yuji Naka knew more than we did.
Yeah, like dolphins will like there's an incident where a dolphin was like bullying its trainer at like a SeaWorld type place, and it would drag her to the bottom until she almost drowned, let her get up and get her breath back, and then do it again over and over.
Bloody hell.
Fuck. I guess
they're like one of the only animals besides human that just kills for sport and amusement.
Oh, I was going to say, like,
Dolphins,
going back a little bit there, it's funny that you were bringing up, like, Valstrax before, because I was going to mention, see, when you fight Amatsu again in, like the non-urgent quest, the monster that shows up in dive bombs is Valstrax.
Oh, cool.
Ah, cool.
So they've got, like there's that connection there, and saw someone mention online it's also, like, kind of connecting to Universal Studios Japan, like, ride that they done, which was Amatsu versus Valstrax.
Oh, sick. I wish that was there when I went.
From like 6 years ago or something like that it was. So people were like, oh, like, that's canon now. Cool, like, now that they've added it to the game, they just kind of...
I mean, I always get the vibe that in Monster Hunter just everything's canon.
Did they have different monsters turn up in the...
rather than canon.
Were there different monsters when you went back and fought All Mother Narwa? Or was it always Magmal?
There was different monsters, yeah, like Teostra, like mainly Elder Dragons.
Cool.
Kushala.
Yeah, I can mix it up.
I like that. Makes fight still conjure up a surprise or two when you replay that.
Yeah,
right?
that adds to the whole kind of thing where, like, you're obviously the whole point in the Monster Hunter game is you fight, like, a monster over and over again, but, like, if you're reading into it, it's just story. I think, like, they fight this monster once over, like, a span of, like, a couple of days, like, in theory. And it adds to, like, when you're redoing a hunt, I always get the feeling that it's like someone retelling a story of when, like, a hunter retelling their story of the hunt. So, like, they add different elements, so when, like, Teostra comes down and battles, like, the All Mother, like, it's like I always saw as, like, another hunter telling a different story.
I like that idea.
So listening back to our Amatsu episode from September 2017, which is insane to think about. What's even more crazy is that's like episode 50-something. That's not even an early one.
Wow.
Yeah, we started this in 2016, boys.
What a waste of 7 years.
For some reason, I was on one. I guess I'd just been watching a lot of X-Men films, because first I'm comparing the Amatsu to Storm, which kind of makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Did you drop the Toad line?
Yep. No, but you did, Jay.
Oh no! Why am I so predictable even 7 years on?
As soon as I mention Storm, you bring up the stupid what happens to a toad when it gets struck by lightning.
It's all I can think about when I think about Storm. Oh man.
And then the other X-Men reference I make is because, this is go back to what I was saying earlier, in the way they describe Amatsu and the way Gaijin Hunter described it when he was talking about Portable Third, it wasn't like in this game where it's like, my mortal enemy, it destroyed my village, it killed my queen, blah, blah, blah. It was just like, yeah, this thing lives up in the mountains, but it causes storms everywhere it goes.
Mm-hmm.
And I was describing it as being similar to Professor Xavier in Logan, where he's not actively hurting anyone, he's just can't control his powers anymore. But this game, it does not have that vibe at all. It's like, this thing hates you and it wants to destroy your village.
And it hates you in the hunt as well. It is a...
It's Kagero at the start of that cutscene.
Well, actually,
like, just goes for him.
The hunt has changed as well, yeah, because I think I remember the old hunt also kind of felt like it floated around and storms happened, but it never felt like it was coming for us. Whereas this guy felt pretty aggressive.
We've got that whole second phase to the fight now, which wasn't in the old games, right? Like, where it activates rage mode, and that's when it starts doing a lot more, like, thunder attacks. Like, the storm's almost intensifying in a way.
Yeah. So it's maybe you could argue that it feels a bit less unique as an Elder Dragon now, but it's probably a better hunt and a cooler fight.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it is definitely doesn't have the same vibe as it does before, and that is unique. I will say that, but if it's always meant to be this, like I don't know how it was described in the old games, if it was described as being just an elder dragon of winds or what have you there, but an elder dragon that conjures storms. I mean, big cyclones aren't all you get in a storm. There will be thunder, there will be lightning, there will be destruction, and it feels a lot more thematically on point
Mm-hmm.
with how they've designed it in this game.
Yep. Oh man, when Andy came to Japan, he got like some light drizzle. And he was trying to describe it to me like he'd experienced like a powerful Japanese storm. And I was just like, you have not, mate. Trust me.
Yeah, I've seen videos of the mad typhoons you get over there. It's
Well, usually I'm pretty safe from them because I'm like enclosed in the mountains, but one of them broke through a couple years back. And it like, you probably saw it on the news, it like flooded the Shinkansen bay and stuff. Like
yeah,
destroyed
that
a bunch of farms.
I'm pretty sure. Like, obviously, I follow New Japan, and I'm pretty sure there were that might be around the time they had to cancel a bunch of shows.
And my company generously let us take the afternoon off that day.
Oh,
Because the
kind.
storm wasn't due until 2.
Still happening.
So I was walking home, like, basically in monsoon rains. Just like when I got back to my apartment, it was like I just got into the shower in my clothes. I was absolutely soaked through. Well, speaking of, like, storms and stuff, so the full name Amatsu Kamatsuchi, the Japanese name, basically translates to, like, a god of storms.
Well, there you go. That's
And like in Japanese mythology, storm gods are very significant, partly because the country has a lot of storms. So you've got like Susanoo is the storm god, and he's the one who like killed Orochi, the eight-headed serpent. And then of course there's the kamikazes, like the god winds, which sunk the Mongol invasions. So like storm gods are very, very much worshipped here, feared and worshipped.
do Fujin and Raijin fall into that, or
Yes, yeah, they would come under storm gods. And I guess this is like the combination of the two together, right? Like Fujin and Raijin would be like cronies of Susanoo, I guess.
Ronies?
The weird thing with Japanese religion and mythology is that it wasn't centralized until a couple hundred years ago. So very little of it actually makes sense if you put it all together. But that's true of most old mythologies, right? Like, if you read all the Norse stories, they contradict each other. Because they were told by different people over centuries.
You need to look up how Susanoo's portrayed in Final Fantasy XIV. It's incredible. He's like this big jolly storm warrior that speaks like Brian Blessed. It's brilliant.
Oh, that's pretty accurate, to be honest. My main image of Susanoo is the one from Okami, so...
Mm. Yeah, in 14, he's just... You start the fight and he goes, "Let the revelries commence!" It's
nice.
I suppose, Fujin and Raijin, kind of combining together to be what Amatsu would represent, does kind of lean into that theory that people had that Jas was on about Amatsu potentially going to be what was birthed by Ibushi and Narwa, right? Because Ibushi and Narwa
Yep.
are meant to represent Fujin and Raijin, respectively.
Mm-hmm.
We theorized that Geismagor might be one of their kids as well. So I think all four must be kind of related. Even if they're not like the four that we thought are specifically one big happy family.
Guess that. I mean, I suppose Geismagorm's meant to be, a representing, hell and the underworld.
Well, yeah,
in a lot of
it's
this.
a fallen angel. Like they even say that in some of the descriptions.
And I suppose Amatsu's, heavenly, meant to be from the skies.
Yeah.
And then its armor kind of leans into that as well. Like its armor is very much like a shrine maiden.
Yeah,
It's like a
Yeah.
priestess thing.
Yeah.
That's it. So, yeah, I suppose Amatsu is very much at odds with Geismagorm.
Hmm.
But they all.
Well, yeah. If the final boss of Sunbreak was the devil, where do you go from there? Fight God.
That's yep.
I'm a big
Every
fan of any fight God narrative. The more literal, the better. Like, if I can see God get actually punched in the face. Hence why Bayonetta 1 has the best ending of all time. Spoilers, I guess.
it's a 14-year-old
Amatsu
video
and
game at this point.
spoilers. You and spoilers, Amatsu and spoilers go hand in hand.
Yeah.
I think you're safe. I think it's been out for 14 years now.
Logan, now
Not like
Bayonetta.
Also,
What you like, man?
you start that game, you know it's not ending any other way than you punching the god through the solar system.
yes. That's
I think that's us, yeah.
yeah.
Until, well, who knows when.
Yeah, I mean,
Till the new game.
we
Probably.
pretty much.
Maybe bonus stuff.
If they do shock us with like a decent extra monster. And
Yeah,
who knows, maybe
knows?
we'll
Like,
do it
like
episode
on the,
when...
the roadmap, it said there was a bonus update, but like, and then they kind of the monster that they show, half show, like seems obvious. Seems to be variant Malzeno, but who knows? They might sneak in another few monsters in there.
Yeah.
We probably won't cover that unless it's, a real spectacle of a fight.
Yeah, something like that.
And,
Which,
or something, yeah.
considering how bookended Amatsu feels.
But yeah, there's not a lot else we've got to cover. I mean, unless we end up picking up stories, who knows? Go back to stories too. So yeah, I mean,
they had a bunch of videos of stories too running at the what do you call it? The cafe.
the cafe.
God, I was tempted.
There you go. You might get a little stream series from Luke. Who knows?
Yeah, but maybe I'll rope Smurf back in and we'll do like a story spoiler cast. I think him and Math both finished it.
But yeah, well, I mean, this might be your dose of MASH until Monster Hunter 6 appears, which, who knows, we'll probably might even start seeing rumblings of that in the summer. Maybe TGS this year, who knows.
Tokyo Game Show, yeah. That's what Sujimoto said. Keep your eyes on Tokyo Game Show.
That's September, right?
September, yep.
There we go.
In the meantime, though, this Sunday you will get. I mean, it's right now. It's Sunday when they're listening. Next week you will get the Hunt episode of this podcast. You'll also get on this feed the first episode of the new podcast where you can find me and Jay and Jess, Hyrule Field Report.
Yes. So if you want to continue and listen to us three's dulcet tones, then if you're into a bit of Zelda as well, or even if you're not and you're just interested in games and hearing our chat about them, then definitely recommend giving that a listen. We'll be playing through. It's almost kind of listen along, play along style adventure for Tears of the Kingdom. But first episode is just a little look back at Breath of the Wild and us gushing about how excited we are about Tears of the Kingdom. So definitely worth checking out and getting excited with us.
Yeah, I will say, if you're looking for like a critical eye, it is not that.
yeah. It is a loving. We very much enjoy that game.
Check us out on Twitter at Monster Mash Pod. We're also on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Make sure you search Monster Mash Podcast. Make sure you rate and review, like and subscribe, tell your friends. I mean, it's a bit redundant at this point. But also, please do all of those things for the new podcast. Follow it over to wherever that gets uploaded. And please do tweet at AndyMan949 how much you love him and you miss him and you hope he comes back when we do more Monster Mash.
I'm sure he will. Yeah, do keep us subscribed in your feeds. We will be going dark for a while, but we're not dead. Yet.
Peace.
Catch us later.
Bye.